is Alex Patarelli. I am our Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admission, and I have been at a couple sessions this week, so you might have seen me at another session, but I'm definitely excited that you can join us here on Friday. And then I'm also going to share my screen as soon as I figure out that, so you can see who is with us for students. So this is the Virtual Acceptance Student Day. Of course I can't. There we go. Nope. We are not the parent session. All right, and there's our all-star cast and crew of students. As you can see, we have a majority of our schools represented from our School of Health Sciences, School of Arts and Sciences, and School of Nursing. We do not have any current students from the School of Business and Communication, but that is okay. I am actually an alum of the master's program in the School of Business and Communication, so if we do have any business and communication questions, I can answer those as well. But for the majority, we're hoping to talk more about student life as well, so students can talk a little bit about their experiences. But with that being said, we want to just start in the exact order that it's listed on this slide. If you want to start with a little bit of an introduction about yourself so the students can know who is joining us today.
Hi, I'm Becky. I am a junior in the nuclear medicine program here at Regis. I live on campus, and I'm also a tour guide and a coordinator for the tour guides, as well as being involved in the dance company.
Hi everyone, I'm Bella. So I actually graduated this past December from Regis, and I got my degree in public health, and I'm actually continuing my education at Regis and getting my master's in health administration, but I technically was still part of the class of 2020. And I am also I was part of the dance company at Regis. I'm also part of the Pride Guide program, which is our tour guide program. I'm also an RA on campus, and yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Brendan. I'm a sophomore biomedical engineering major, and I'm minoring in math and biology. Right now, I'm part of the men's volleyball team. I'm part of the Pride Guide tour guides on campus, and I'm part of, I lost it. Yeah, I think that's good for now.
Hi everyone, I'm Alexa. I'm a sophomore in the nursing program. My minor is neuroscience, so that's a lot of fun all the time. And I'm involved in Regis by being a tour guide. Recently, I got promoted to be the coordinator of the tour guides, and I'm also a coordinator of orientation leader.
Great. Thank you, guys. And just to give everybody a heads up, I'm going to ask the students a couple of questions here, but if you do have questions specific to the students, I think many of you have come to sessions prior, please just chat them to us or chat them to me specifically, and I can ask those questions throughout the session. But why don't we start a little bit? You're all kind of coming from different grade levels, so some sophomores, juniors, and then somebody who is a graduate / senior. Why don't you guys start by, why you initially chose Regis? If Alexa, you want to start with that one.
Yeah, sure. So I chose Regis because I was a part of the summer scholars program that we offered here. We still offer it, but I was a part of it back in 2017, and I took a couple of college courses on campus, and I was able to meet the professors and then get acclimated to the resources on campus. And I love the tight-knit community feel that I experienced with just the 2 weeks being on campus. And the people were also great, and what Regis had to offer really, made me want to go here.
And Bella, if you want to take over from there.
So for me, when I was applying to schools, I initially wanted to go into health administration, and most schools, they didn't offer that as a bachelor's program. They only offered it as a master's program. And my guidance counselor, she had told me about Regis and how they offered it, health administration, as a 4+1 program. So what it is you get your bachelor's in 4 years, and then you continue your education and you go for another year and you get your master's. And so what I did was I started off, they told me that you can go into your program of public health, and then you go into health administration straight from there. And so that really took my interest because it not only saved me a lot of time, but it also saved me a lot of money. And then I was very interested in that. And then I also, when I came on campus, I immediately felt at home. It was just a good feeling when I came on campus. And I just had great tour guides that gave a lot of information. They gave a lot of personal stories that just made me feel right at home when I was there. And it was just a good fit for me because they also had that. They had a dance company, which was something that I was very interested in because I danced my entire life. And Regis was just overall a perfect fit for me because of what I wanted to go into, and also more like my own personal.
Great. And Brennan, what drew you to Regis?
Well, to start, I am a out-of-state student. I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and so I really didn't know about Regis until getting recruited through volleyball. So once I got an email from our head volleyball coach, I started looking more into the school. I saw that it was like a smaller campus. Some of the majors they had, like at first I was going to do public health, then I saw biomedical engineering, so a lot of biology-based and medicine-based courses, which I liked. And so like after a good amount of interest in considering like being an out-of-state student an out-of-state student, I decided to take a tour here. And going through the tour, I learned that the classes are really small. The community is smaller, but it's so much closer together. And, going through like the whole tour, even my tour guide was saying hi to like every single person in each hallway. Like you just know so many people. And, I'm really happy because I get the same experience now, even as a sophomore. I go in and it was scary because, I don't know anyone in Boston, especially in this area. So I come in knowing no one, but after a week or so, like you get so acclimated, you get to know so many more people, you learn a lot about yourself. And yeah, it really just made Regis like a life-changing sort of experience for me. And I'm really grateful that I went here.
Great. Becky, I know we have a one question that's come in, but if you want to just quickly go through why you chose Regis, and then I will address the first question.
Yeah, so I had a sort of a similar path to Regis as Bella. I was originally looking to go to college my sophomore year of high school for X-ray, to be an X-ray tech. So one of the schools that I found was Regis because we have a partner program with Lawrence Memorial for X-ray. And the day that I happened to go and look at Regis for the first time, our former program director for Nuke Med was giving the talk, and he brought up nuclear medicine. And at that point, I knew like that's what I wanted to do. So at that point, I started looking for more schools that had Nuke Med as a 4-year undergrad program for my bachelor's. And there were like 4 schools in all of New England that had that. And I knew I'm kind of a homebody. I don't really want to go that far away. So with that, combined with the fact that the first time I ever stepped foot on Regis's campus, it just felt like I was home again, was something that was really drew me to the campus. And so after that first experience, I just kept coming back to Regis, and I ended up not really looking into anywhere else because I just felt that much at home and comfortable and like I truly belonged there. So that's where I ended up, and I worked really hard to get there, but I'm so glad that I focused that hard on getting to be here because I truly love it every single day.
Great, thank you. So we have a lot of questions rolling in there. The first one is from Kendall, and I can take this one. It's to talk a little bit about your business program. And Kendall, a little bit about our business program is we have a School of Business and Communication. It houses a lot of our business programs, our most popular being our global business management. But we also have financial planning, we have marketing and communication, we have the communication program. So we have lots of different options. And then within the global business management, you can pick a focus in accounting or economics or marketing or communication. So you really have lots of options there. We also have a 3-year business degree, so you can actually get the global business management as a 4-year degree or a 3-year degree, so you can do it a year earlier. A little like how Bella did hers in 3.5 years, you can graduate a little bit earlier and start one of our 1-year master's programs. So we do offer a +1 master's program in communication within the School of Business and Communication. So if you still want to do your whole 4 years, kind of like Bella's doing, you can do the 3+1 and still stay for your 4 years, but get your master's and bachelor's. That's totally up. And then the next question is talking about the education program, also one that I can take as well. Our education program is, we have all different levels, which is really great. So depending on what you want to do from early childhood to secondary, we also have some master's programs that you can do a 4+1. So the most popular one is we have a master's program in special education. So you do your 4 years. In your junior and senior year, you start taking master's classes towards your education master's, and then by the time you graduate, you only have 6 or 7 classes left to take. We also have a master's in higher education in student support. So if you'd rather work in a college, that is an option as well. But there's lots of different options for the education, the most popular being that 4+1 with a special education license, and really an opportunity to do student teaching, come out with more than one license when you graduate, and have an opportunity to really be marketable when you go out to a school district, because you might have an elementary license with a special ed, moderate disability license on top of that. So definitely lots of options to have some flexibility when you're looking for jobs. This next question is for Brendan. Michaela is also an out-of-state student, and she wants to know, did you find it difficult not having a car on campus your freshman year, especially since you're out of state?
For personally, I didn't really find myself like going off campus too much, just because I really didn't have a need to. But there were a lot of times, I did get like bored on the weekends, and so a big thing is like me and my friends would always like want to go to Boston. We'd go like right into the city, go out to eat, go out to see like how the area is, because I've never been before school actually. So what's great about Regis is they also have shuttle services. So the shuttle services are like right outside Angela Hall, which is the freshman dorms. And these run around like every 30 or so minutes. And it's a free shuttle for all Regis students. And it just takes you to the T, which is similar to your metro subway, depending. And like every other weekend, me and my friends would take the shuttle to the T station, take the T, get a $2 ticket and go all the way to like Boston in that region. And it's only like, it's less than an hour to get there. And we just spend the whole like day there and then come back to school without really having to pay things like gas, Ubers, things like that. And, I wouldn't say it's hard, especially because I don't think right now freshmen are even allowed to have cars on campus. But even then, it's not that, you learn to find like a lot of friends, you meet with a lot of people, and a lot of people on campus do have cars. A lot of my older teammates, a lot of my older classmates that do have cars, sometimes I'm like, can you take me to, Market Basket? Or take me to like grocery stores and things like that. So I wouldn't say it's difficult, but if need be, there are a bunch of outlets that you could use. Yeah, and every Saturday, that same shuttle service will take you to Market Basket. So you're able to get a bunch of groceries and stuff like that. The first week of school, they have a Target trip, so all the freshmen get to go Target, get whatever they need, come back. So there's a lot of options. I think it does depend on personal preference. If you need to like go do work for something like that, then it may be a little more difficult. But in general, I don't see like anything that would affect you if you didn't have a car.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, how is the dance company at Regis? So I don't know if anybody wants to take a stab at explaining the dance company and some of your experiences in that.
I can talk a little bit on that one.
Great.
I joined the dance company my freshman year, and the dance company is all student run. So it's all students that teach the classes. So there's no outside instructors that come in. And so that means it's all students that teach. It's and like students that can bring in different dances from different backgrounds and cultures. So it's a great dynamic. It's basically a club that we have on campus, and it's actually one of our largest clubs. And we always have a show that we put on every year. Unfortunately, this year our dance show had to be canceled due to our pandemic. But so that was unfortunately very sad for our seniors. But overall it's a very exciting time for everybody, because we do put on about 3 shows in March, and it's like a typical recital. And but it's all student run, and like I said, there's you have the normal jazz, tap, lyrical, ballet, but then there's also the different cultures like Haitian, African, Kizomba, Caribbean, African, Jamaican, things like that. And it's just really fun, and it's just an extracurricular that you can just do on your own time. Most of the time the dance classes happen at night. I know I would have class, I think the latest I had class was at 9 o'clock at night, but that was just my junior year. I just did a lot of classes, so I was there from 7 to 9, and it was just a late night. But yeah, and it's just all really fun, and it's just a good time, and it's just a good way to relieve stress. And I was part of it all 4 years. I was there at Regis, and I made some great friends through it, and it was a good way to branch out and meet new people.
Great. Thank you, Bella. And Becky, thank you for I know there was a follow-up question about whether or not the dance company has a Facebook group or page. And Becky, for those of you who are interested, shared the dance company's Instagram handle. So thank you for doing that. So the next question, we can actually have maybe Alexa take a stab at first, and then Brendan, if you have anything to add, being a student athlete. But Christina is going to be a student athlete on campus, and she's pursuing a biology and pre-vet major. And she's wondering if it is too much to minor in business. And the reason I ask Alexa you that, because I know that, although you aren't in those programs specifically, you have a lot of different, I feel like you have a different major and minor that you're adding every week. So if you want to talk about your experience kind of balancing the different programs.
Yes. So just to specify, I am a nursing major with a minor in neuroscience on a pre-physician assistant track. So Christina, I hear you. It's not a lot to tackle. It's just a different, you just have to time manage wisely. So you said biology and pre-vet, that would sync up perfectly. And then you're minoring in business. I don't see a problem in that at all. But again, and you're a student, good for you. Okay, student athlete. It's just you have to time manage, and we have the resources on campus for people to help you to time manage. I know we have the Learning Commons, it's our library, and on the second floor they have a bunch of academic coaches, and they come by, you go to them, every first year is assigned an academic coach, and you can go talk to them and be like, hey, this is what the classes I'm taking are. I need to learn how to organize my life. Can you help me? And they are more than willing to do that. They help out manage your schedule, manage the activities that you want to take out on campus, all these different things. So I don't see too much of a problem, or if it's too much. And you always have the option to add a minor, drop a minor, do whatever you got to do. It's college. It's your time for trying out everything. So you should be fine.
Great. Thanks, Alexa.
Yeah.
And the next question is, Was it easy to make friends on campus, and how is it your experience with your roommates? So maybe Becky, we haven't heard from you in a while. Did you find it easy to make friends on campus when you came?
So I definitely found it easy to make friends on campus. I actually made a lot of friends at orientation, which is also where I met my roommate for my freshman year, which that was a great experience for me. I loved living with a roommate. I currently live by myself just because with my academic load, it was just the better decision for me to be able to do that, along with working a bunch of different jobs on campus. But my experience with having a roommate was absolutely fantastic, and I definitely miss it. As far as making friends, I do have to be transparent and say I am a huge extrovert, so I could pretty much strike up a conversation with the tree branch, and I'd be totally fine. So it's definitely sort of one of those it's what you make it kind of things, but I think the fact that we are a small campus definitely helps ease making friends because you're with not a large group of people, but you're still around people often enough that you have the opportunity to make friends easily. I also highly recommend, like, if you're somebody who has trouble making friends, definitely like take that step outside of your comfort zone and try and get involved in one way or another. I know, like, I probably wouldn't know Bella or Alexa or Brendan if I wasn't part of the tour guide. So for me, like, honestly, some of my best friends have come from me getting involved on campus with the dance company and pride guides and all that stuff. So if it's something that you are struggling with, or that you know, like, I'm kind of on the shy side, and I need a little nudge, I would definitely say take that step and start small if you want to, but definitely put yourself out there and join some kind of a club or a group, and I think you'll find it to be a lot easier than you think it would be.
Great. And I'll just also add to that, there is a class Facebook group. If you haven't joined it, every day people are introducing themselves and kind of talking about, their experience from this class, you guys will be the class of 2024. So if you want to join that class Facebook group, definitely do that. And you can introduce yourself. It's a good way to start to get to know people. Also, Becky and Bella are on that group. So they're usually checking in there here and there. And you can also ask them questions after this session. But I just want to follow up about the experience with roommates because, Brendan, I know you talked earlier in the week. I think you got this question in your session about roommates potentially, and you talked about how your roommate was kind of a random situation because you didn't know anybody coming from, Washington, D.C. So if you want to talk a little bit about your experience with your roommate, that would be great.
So I came in with the only people I knew were the other people in the volleyball recruiting for like freshmen. So they had already had their own roommates. So just evidently, if you don't have someone that you plan on rooming with, you get put randomly. So that was really daunting for me. I can't lie, just not being able to know who I'm going to be living with for the next year. But it was actually a really great experience. My roommate at the time is in my grades, it's Arpen, and he was a great roommate. He was one of my closest friends now on campus. I'm always like at his lacrosse games now. We had like a lot of similar science classes together, so we would always study and work on projects together if we needed to. And just for me, luckily, he was just like a very similar person. He's a little more introverted. He wasn't very loud, very quiet, and so it just worked well together. On the other hand, there is a big problem with roommates sometimes, where in fact certain roommates don't get along together, or someone you think at first is a great roommate isn't so great. But the thing is, what's good about that is that you aren't stuck with this person the entire year. If you are starting to have like roommate problems, or there's just something you need changed, you can go talk to Residence Life and they can acclimate you to a better environment, whether that's a different room, a different roommate, different dorm buildings, things like that. So we're very flexible in that sense. So we're not, trying to make you uncomfortable. So if there's any problems, you can always bring that up and get those situated.
Great. Thank you, guys. It looks like right now we've gone through the questions that have been asked. Of course, there might be more that come in, but my next question for all of you, and maybe we could start with Alexa here, is, all of you had taken the turn to talk about, you felt comfortable, you felt like Regis was home, and you felt like, the community, the sense of community. But now I'm asking to talk a little bit more specifically. So, has there been a person or a class or a club that you have been in, or a person that you've interacted with, or a class that you've been in with, that has really impacted your experience at Regis?
Yeah, so being a part of Regis is really great because, like everyone's saying, it's a tight-knit community, and so that means you get more of an opportunity to network, which is really great because, as we all know, leaving college to find a job, to find a career and a pathway is all about networking. So coming to Regis, I wanted to immerse myself in everything and anything I could possibly be a part of. And coming from high school, I was and am, have that leadership component, but when I met the people of the Center for Ministry and Service, because I do come from a Catholic faith, they have this awesome opportunity of service trips. And as a first year, I was so blessed and lucky to go on a service trip to New Orleans, Louisiana. And I got to go with 9 other students from Regis, and they were all upperclassmen. And it was just me and another freshman going. So being able to meet everyone from CMS and then go to a different state with a bunch of people that I got to know throughout the past couple weeks and months, preparing me for this trip to help serve the Dear Neighbor and go down to New Orleans and rebuild homes, really strengthened my leadership potential and everything. So I came back to Regis College wanting to lead more, wanting to do more, wanting to make more of an impact. So probably I would say CMS and everything that they have to offer has helped me here at Regis.
Great. Thank you, Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
Bella, is there a person or a club or a class that has influenced your experience?
So during my time at Regis, I was part of a research project that was funded by Regis as well as the AARP. And it was on a topic that was all about social isolation among the elderly. And that was a project that was it was very interesting because we did it all in the Sisters of St. Joseph, who founded Regis. And so we brought it all back to Regis, and it actually is going to be a published research paper. So my name is going to be on a published research paper, research project, and it's getting my name out there, and it's going to be something that I can put on my resume. And so one of my teachers that actually that was the starter of this project was Dr. Leslie Mandel, who I think is the assistant director for the public health department at Regis. And I actually think she might be the director of public health, the public health department at Regis. And she is someone who was my teacher for multiple of my classes. And she not only helped me through that class, through that project, but she also gave me a student leader role in that project. So I had more duties than most people, than the other students on that project. She gave me that sense of leadership. And then she also gave me a bunch of other connections through that. She's also not only a great connection herself, but she's also given me connections to people in the Federal Department of Public Health, to the State Department of Public Health. She's just someone that she's told me in the past, she's like, if you ever need someone that you need, I'm blanking on the word because my brain is messed up for some reason. If you ever need a contact,
Recommendation.
Yes, thank you. Recommendation. That's the one I'm looking for. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word. If you ever need a recommendation, she's like, you can always come to me for it. She's just someone who's just always been very present during my education, and she was always very active in making sure I was getting everything in on time. She was always making sure that I was doing everything well and making sure I'm very prepared for my future career. And she's just someone who's very present, and she was just always there for me. And that just shows like the level of like what our teachers are providing at Regis, because if she's like the director of the public health program, she's obviously a very busy woman, but she's taking that time to dedicate to her students. But she's just a very caring woman, and that's just shows like the caliber of our teachers.
Bella, Michaela asked if any of us have studied abroad, and if we have, what's it like? I think you're the only one out of all of us who have done that, so I'm gonna send that your way.
Yeah, I studied abroad my sophomore year, fall semester, and I was in London, England for 3 total months. So it was like September to December, and it was amazing. I loved it, every second of it. You get homesick. I'm not gonna lie, you do get homesick, but you have to just think about it. You are in a different country, and you are never going to have experience like this ever again. I made friends very easily because I was living in a dorm at a university. So everybody that was in the dorm was studying abroad, at least on my floor. So everyone was studying abroad, and we all, like, my next door neighbors became my best friend, as well as my roommate. We all became super close, and me and all my friends, we all like traveled to different countries. We went to 6 other countries while I was there. I did so many different things. It was amazing. Like, I went to Germany, I went to Italy, I went to the Vatican. I went to Vatican City. It was amazing. I could talk on and on about studying abroad, honestly, but one of the great things about Regis is that, like, the financial aid package that you get for the semester goes along with you as long as you're studying abroad during the semester. So it's awesome. So it was financially agreeable for me. And it was just amazing. And I still talk to my friends that I made 2 years ago now, almost 3, and it's insane to think that it's been that long since I went there. And I always try to get people to study abroad, because you never know when you're going to have an experience like that, because it's it's an amazing experience, because you get immersed in a different culture, and you're also in a different place, and you learn so much about yourself. I became so much more independent and confident in myself, and it was an amazing time. I loved every second of it. I did. I loved it so much.
I also studied abroad, and I also endorse everything that Bella said. Like, if you can do it, it is an awesome experience. I was in Scotland, so a little bit further north than England, but I love my experience. I was not quite good enough to be an athlete in the United States, but I was just good enough to be an athlete in Scotland. So I played a little college basketball when I was there. So I enjoyed that too. I like thank you to all my students who are laughing at me over that. But I had fun. My goodness. Brendan doesn't quite think I'm as athletic. Being an athlete yourself, Brendan, I'm sure, I don't look like an athlete, but and I just want to pop back to, I know Alexa answered the question in the chat, but Christina asked, are service trips sponsored by Regis? And Alexa did answer and said service trips are through the Center of Ministry and Service, as well as there are some trips that are run through health services. These trips, you are required to pay something financially, but they do a great job of fundraising and doing lots of different group fundraisers, individual fundraisers, and then they have like a gala called Regalos, and that is a big fundraiser that we host every year as a university for these trips as well. So there is definitely a money component of it, but if you work hard to fundraise, that price comes down very quickly. And correct me if I'm wrong, Alexa, on that. But
yeah, and they're really flexible too, because I know I'm still paying, because this past spring break, like a month ago, I went to Kentucky with health services, and I still owe my latest amount, and they're pretty flexible with it. They just say as long as it's, before you graduate, like wherever you are. So like before May, I have to submit my money.
there you go. Thanks, Alexa.
Yeah.
So just to finish that question I asked before we went to those questions, Becky and Brendan, if you want to have an opportunity to talk about a person or a class or club that you have either interacted with or been a part of that has most influenced you since you've been at Regis. And Becky, if you want to start with that one.
Yeah, definitely. So the first person that comes to mind for me is Dr. Calamati. If you ever get the chance on campus to either just have a conversation with him or to take a class with him, do not pass it up. It will change your life forever, even if it's 1 5-minute conversation. And I'm pretty sure multiple people can back me on that. He is a fantastic guy. Every freshman student at Regis takes a first-year seminar class in the fall, which basically just teaches you how to be a college student. And then in the spring of your freshman year, you take whatever class that same professor is running on those days and times. That's what class you're in. So you could end up in anything from like a Portuguese class to a religious class. So for me, I had Dr. Calamati as my first-year seminar professor, and then I took his Meaning of Faith class with him again in the spring that year. I ended up getting super, super sick fall of my freshman year, and anything that I needed done, Dr. Calamati stepped up and talked to my professors for me. He helped me get accommodations to get my assignments moved so I could, get the rest and the medical attention that I needed. But more importantly, this current school year, I have dealt with a lot, specifically this past semester, and I'm a junior now, but I still found myself, even sophomore year too, like visiting him. But this year, I needed a couple recommendation letters, and a couple times I just needed somewhere to go and talk, and I went to his office, and he has made it so much easier for me to get through this last semester. And it's just something that I've been thinking about a lot, because I'm technically not one of his students anymore, so he doesn't really have to take the time out of his office hours to meet with me or talk with me or write me recommendation letters for scholarships or do whatever I need. But he always takes the time to do it no matter what else is going on with his schedule. And that's just something, like, to me, that says Regis in general. But if you can find a person that makes you feel like you really and truly are at home, like, stick with it and make sure you keep that relationship up. But I mean, I could talk for hours about Dr. Calamati. He's the best. I absolutely love him. I can say, though, he's a small hindrance when we're on tours, because if you see him in the hallway, he will stop and talk to you, and then everything gets sidetracked a little bit. But he's fantastic. So that would be my short version of Dr. Calamati.
Thanks, Becky. Brendan, is there any person, class, or club that you've been a part of that has most influenced you?
Well, for me personally, it's definitely have to be like my volleyball team, specifically like my head coaches. So what happens is that, we don't have an official season until the spring for my sport in particular. And so a lot of the fall and winter are like captain based or like non-traditional season. But more or less, like once season comes around, you see them every day for 4 months. And depending on what sport some of the incoming freshmen are in, you may have to forfeit a break. So for men's volleyball, where I'm playing, I have to come back to school a little early for winter break. I come back on January 1st instead of, say, January 20-something. And it's just like a week of just more practices. But it's like the most fun I've ever had, because it's just me and a bunch of my, teammates, and we're just all, eating together, playing volleyball, and that's it. No work, no having to deal with like studying, nothing like that. And it's so much fun. But on the other side of things, I know that my coach specifically is not very keen on just making sure that we're good volleyball players. I remember I had like a really big struggle um, this year with trying to with getting like a captain role, and just how our team wasn't doing great and got into a bit of a rut. And he would just talk to me every single day, making sure I'm all right. So, are you doing all right? How's today doing? Checking in. And he still does that now. He texted me just yesterday about like how like adjusting to quarantine's going. Um, and if you have a chance to get into like any sort of teams or anything like that, it's a great idea, just because you have so many people looking out for you. It gives you something to do on campus. That gives you like a core group to have. And that also comes with clubs too. You're gonna have a lot of people with the same interests. You get to do a lot of like fun activities, and you're gonna meet some of the friends that you're like just like you, which I definitely found through volleyball.
Great, thank you. And another question that came in is, what do you recommend for students to do on the first week or two of campus? And I would just say that one of my favorite times of the year is the first week in the fall, when we have our welcome back week, and there is the activities fair where you can learn about the clubs and organizations. But if you guys want to talk a little bit about what that, that welcome back, especially in the fall, is like after you've been away for the summer.
Yeah, so the first week back on campus is personally my favorite week of the whole year. If you're a returning student, you're reuniting with all of your friends that you haven't seen in a while. I know for one thing, this year's welcome back week is going to be crazy because we'll all have been away from each other for like 6 months, which is really sad when you think about it. But it's not just us; everybody's going through it. So we're all going to make it through. But my freshman year welcome week was a huge deal for my friends and I from orientation. We stuck together. We really didn't leave each other's sides, but we went to everything and anything that they were putting on for us. So we went to the activities fair. And honestly, if there's any club that you see or organization that you see at the activities fair that even like perks your interest a little bit, definitely sign up for it. Get the emails about when they're having meetings and go. Even if it's just to check it out and kind of narrow it down from like 20 different clubs that you were interested in to a couple that you want to definitely join. You can't really get too much information, so definitely get all the information you want, and then figure out which ones you want to go to. But my biggest piece of advice for that week would be just like put yourself out there. You really have nothing to lose. You only have a lot to gain. So find somebody, even if it's just your roommate, and go check it all out. There's Big Prize Bingo, which for me never really turns out great, but my brother visited one time and we played Big Prize Bingo and he left with a huge TV. So if you're a lucky person, definitely go to Big Prize Bingo. But all of the events that they have comedy nights, they have karaoke, I think we've had a couple times. But the biggest thing I would say would be definitely check out the activities fair, because we have so many different clubs and organizations that like there are things that we have that you would never even think that like they would exist, but they do. So there's definitely something there for everybody. So for that week or two, I would definitely say put yourself out there, check out the clubs, and ask as many questions as you can ask.
Great. Does anybody have anything to add to that, or do you think Becky kind of covered it there?
This answer might be boring, but you're probably going to need to find like a lot of things in the first 2 weeks that you're going to need that you don't have at home. So these are like small things like shower shoes. You need like all the like cleaning stuff, because if you don't have those, you're kind of in a rut in the first 2 weeks. I know from experience, unfortunately. But just finding a lot of things that you may need. That's like including like textbooks, if you need those. And you can check with other students if you actually do need those or not. Some teachers use it as reference. Some teachers just don't use it at all. Figuring out like meal plans. So meal plans is like you can do your certain set amount of meals per week, and then dining dollars that you can use at like Dunkin' Donuts, for instance. So figuring those things out Um, a lot of small things just to let your transition be a lot faster and a lot easier. Because if you kind of stay behind on those small things, you just kind of pile up. This makes everything a little harder.
Great. And speaking of meal plans, one of the questions was, is the food good? So does anybody want to talk about their experience in the dining hall? Maybe since we heard from Brennan and Becky, Bella or Alexa?
I can go. I when I came to Regis, my first ever time in 2017, even though I'm a sophomore, through the summer scholars program, I will admit they did have the chicken patty and French fry thing going on for them, which was fine because I like that type of stuff. But we have gotten so much better from 2017, 18, 19, and now 2020. Oh my God. 2020. Yeah, so we've gotten so much better because I remember my freshman year, I liked the food, but I know a bunch of kids were like, no way, Jose, I'm not dealing with that. And then coming into the fall of my sophomore year, so 2019 last year, we got a new chef, which was really great. And I thought the food was doing well, but apparently everyone else was like, because it stepped up, and then everyone else was like, no, we want better food. And then we ended up in 2020, this semester, spring, we got another chef. So we just keep getting better and better. And now we have more of a variety of foods. Like, I never would have eaten like fruits and vegetables if I like it. Like, in all honesty, I'm a junk food like queen. Like, that's what I go to. But like coming to Regis has like exposed me to like all these different types of food. Like, they're so good and they're so seasoned and everything. And we also have the options of the LSC for your late night type of greasy foods. Like, I recommend if you want to go to the LSC and get like a good greasy food, get a crispy chicken quesadilla with bacon. Slaps. Won't regret. You'll love it. And then we also have Dunkin' Donuts, which is in the library, as well as College Hall Bistro, which is kind of like a grab and go station. So like, I know this isn't like high school where you're not allowed to eat in class. In college, like some professors let you eat in class because they understand that you have back-to-back classes. So you can go there and pick up like a salad or a bagel or a sandwich or whatever you want. And then you can go and like take that to go kind of. But to me, the food has gotten better. And yeah. Bella, do you have anything to say? Because you've been here longer.
No, you really covered it, because I was just going to say they've really gotten a lot better. And yeah, Becky, you just said in the group chat that they do have food for people if they have a gluten intolerance, or they do also have like lactose free like milk options. And also they try to have vegan or vegetarian options as well for people if they choose to live a vegetarian lifestyle.
Great. Thank you. So one of the questions was, can freshmen have cars on campus? And the answer is no to that. After your freshman year, you can have a car on campus. And I would say the one thing that's really nice about having your car on campus, at least for the students who are sophomores or seniors, is it is very inexpensive to get a parking pass for the semester at Regis. And it is like $75 a semester. When I was going to school, it was like $200 a semester. And then some schools are like $500 a semester. So 75 is nothing. You couldn't even park for 2 days in Boston for $75. So for a full semester, that's really nice. And then Michaela asks, Alexa, do you recommend that we do the summer scholars program?
So the fun thing with that is that it is for rising juniors in high school and rising seniors in high school. So unfortunately, you will be a rising freshman in college, so you're not applicable to do that. But it was a good time. It was just 2 college classes that I took for 6 weeks, like kind of an intensive thing, because college schedules are different than high school. We have like 2 15 weeks of like fall and spring. So they condensed that for me into a 6-week ordeal, and it was 4 weeks online, 2 weeks on campus, and it was really great. So unfortunately you can't, but if you come to Regis, you'll get all the same benefits that I got.
There you go. Thanks, Alexa. So we've run through the questions that we have so far. So as we start getting closer to that 2 o'clock time, certainly if you have more questions, you can reach out. I put my contact information in the chat. So did Becky, and so did Alexa. So feel free to reach out to them, or Becky and Bella are on the class Facebook group. You can look out for them there. But I would start to wrap up. This is a great question from Grace. So what is your favorite and least favorite experience at Regis so far? So Bella, if you want to start there, since you've been at Regis the longest, you probably have a little bit more breadth of experience there. So why don't you start there?
Oh, gotta give me time to think about this one. Because I've been there for so long. I've had a lot of great experiences at Regis. Some being the dance company, just because of how amazing it is, and how it's when you're on stage and like everybody from basically everybody from the school is in the audience and cheering you on when you're on stage dancing. There's no feeling like it, because it's amazing, and that's just my personal opinion on it. And it's just one of those things where everybody gathers with you and everybody's there, and I'm sure any other athletes are there for whenever people are at your games and things like that. So that's just one of my favorite things. And then my least favorite, I don't know, moving out and leaving all my friends this semester.
Yeah.
Literally, it was the worst thing in the world. I was an RA this semester, and watching all my residents like move out as fast as they could, and it was so sad. It was the worst thing, like watching everybody leave and having to leave all my friends so early, and seeing our graduation unfortunately get postponed until later in the summer. It was heartbreaking, but
yeah, I second that second part. And obviously we want to recognize too that many of you are going through a similar experience in your high school. So we feel how you're feeling, and we are always here to support you if you have any of those questions or concerns about what's going on with yourself or with, of course, our students as well. Please let us know. But Becky, what was your favorite and least favorite experience?
Okay, so least favorite is definitely easier for me to pick out. So other than this, current situation with leaving everybody so much earlier than expected, my least favorite experience would have to be having 8 a.m.s every single semester that I have been at Regis so far. That being said, it's just the way my schedule's worked out. I have not been very lucky, but I have other friends who are sophomores, juniors, even some seniors that have never had an 8 a.m. in their life. So it really just kind of depends on how it works out for you and your schedule. But for me, I have had at least 2 8 a.m.s every single week. This year, I have all 8 a.m. classes. So that, is not my favorite thing ever. But if nothing else, it's preparing me for the real world and for when I go out to clinical and everything else. But that being said, my favorite experience, I would probably have to say like welcome week my freshman year, because it just made everything feel so real and official, and I was like finally there after waiting a really long time to get there. I was so excited to be there, and all the events we do, and I mean orientation was great too. It was hotter than Hades, but it was a really good experience overall. So I guess like freshman year in general, all of the fun activities, like going to your first college sports game with your friends, and like everything that comes as a first with being a freshman, was super exciting and probably my favorite time of college so far.
Great. Bella, if you want to just answer these questions quickly about being an RA. So when and how do you become an RA, and what are the housing benefits of being an RA?
So when you want to apply to be an RA, you have to go through a whole application process that happens in the spring semester. So you can apply, I think it starts like in December, November. It starts like in November. You can like send your application, but you like go through a whole application process that happens in typically February, and then you won't become an RA until the following semester. So you wouldn't become an RA until your sophomore year typically. And so what it is, and then it's a really easy application process, and it's a day full of like icebreakers, sort of. I don't know how to describe them, but and people are observing you, seeing how you do in different group situations and challenges, and see how you go through, and then you go through an interview process. And then if you do get selected to be an RA, you do get your own single room within whichever dorm you're placed in. And then you also, for part of your, when you're paying for tuition, you pay tuition, room and board. And so for RAs, for room and board, you don't pay for room. So that part gets paid for you, and then you also get a stipend. Yeah.
Great. And then the other question after that, and I'll just talk about it quickly, was did any of you study abroad? And if so, do you recommend it? And just for anybody that came in, we did mention it a little bit earlier, but Bella studied abroad in England, and she 10 out of 10 recommended it. I studied abroad in Scotland, which led to a funny story about how I was a college athlete. And I also recommend it. I think if you can do it for a semester, it's great. And the other great thing about Regis is all of our majors can study abroad. So even, a lot of the questions are, if I'm a nursing major or medical imaging or, any major can study abroad. It just might depend on when you study abroad. So this year we had some of our tour guides who are business students. They studied abroad in their senior year. Bella went earlier, and I have some tour guides next year who are nursing students, and they're going to study abroad in their sophomore year because they have to study abroad a little bit earlier before their clinical rotation. So any major can study abroad, just might depend on, when. So that is definitely recommend, especially most popular, I think, amongst our students is Europe, because once you're in Europe, you can really go anywhere in Europe. It's very easy to just hop on a plane, on a train, on a bus, and, kind of go, or just, I guess you could just walk to a lot of different places, which is really nice. I did a lot of walking when I studied abroad. So that is, definitely recommend that. And just as we wrap up here, if we want to just start same order from the slide as we did at the beginning, we'll start. How about everybody go through and just, if you have one piece of advice to incoming freshmen, one thing that you wish that if I went back and I told my, senior in high school self before I entered college, this is what I wish I knew. If you want, Becky, if you want to just start with your piece of advice there.
Oh, geez. Let's see. I mean, overall, like my freshman experience was great, but I think the biggest thing I would say is to stay on campus. I came home a lot on the weekends my freshman year, mostly because 1, I'm a homebody, 2, I had a lot of little cousins that had birthdays and things like that, and 3, my boyfriend at the time was a senior in high school, so we kind of switched off going back and forth. And while it was great to come home and see everybody, I would definitely recommend, at least for fall semester, like really stay, get your feet wet, find things to do, because it just makes it that much easier going forward. If there's a chance that you can't go home, it's not as difficult to deal with because you're already used to it. So I would definitely say stay on campus as much as possible. learn all the ins and outs, go to as many sports games as you can, and make as many friends as you possibly can in that first semester. And everything else following that will feel a lot smoother and a lot more normal, a lot faster.
So I guess my piece of advice is don't be afraid to do things by yourself. I know when you're a freshman, everything's so much easier when you're like with your friends and everything, but at the same time, this is your chance to really grow as yourself. And I know that's one thing that I learned a lot when I studied abroad. And it's something that I probably would have benefited more if I learned that my freshman year.
Mhm.
So if you want to do something, just go out and do it. Don't feel like you need to have someone with you in order to do something. Just take that chance and take that leap and just go for it. Like me, one thing I did was like, I'm going to join the dance company because that's something I've known my entire life and I'm going to do it. But I definitely did hold back on doing some other things because I was afraid to. So don't be afraid to do things. And if you aren't comfortable to do, if you are alone, or if you are just afraid to. So just don't be afraid. Just take that chance because you might end up making some great friends out of it.
Great. Brendan, what about you?
I guess to add on, yeah, I was gonna say like don't be afraid, and try to stay patient. I think when I went into freshman year, I was really like impatient when it comes to like, trying to, meet a bunch of people, trying to, have the fun college experience, try to do like a lot of things at once. And it just wasn't, being myself really. And so it took some time, but then, I start to get used to college. I start to, understand what I need, what I want. And, it turns out I'm an introvert. It always has been. And it's like, I find, certain people that I do like to hang out with, some people that I don't. Maybe my major and certain classes just weren't for me. And so I decided to drop them, things like that. But the thing is, like, you don't have to know exactly what you want to do and when you want to do it in college. It just happens. And just not being afraid to, take those steps back and, kind of just reflect and kind of move on from them. So I think just stay patient and just let things happen the way they are, and then they'll all work out somehow.
Great. All right, Alexa, if you want to take us home there.
Oh my goodness. All right. So I was told this, and I know it's corny, and someone told me this, so I'm going to say it to y'all because it's true. It's like wherever you choose to go or end up, choose it because of this gut feeling that you have. It's like this feeling of like belonging, and I never really believe in that type of stuff. So sitting in the Accepted Students Day, I know you guys don't get the opportunity to actually do this, but my Accepted Students Day was like a dinner, and President Hayes was there, and she was giving this speech about like Regis and like how students like loved it there and everything. And you hear the same thing from the same college all the time, so it kind of soaks in. But you trust your gut enough for it to tell you this is where you're going to end up. So a sense of belonging, like that you feel when you walk on that campus, when you meet the people and imagine yourself like graduating from that college representing like everything you work so hard to become, is a giant piece of advice that someone told me that I want to tell you guys.
Great. That was a great wrap up there, Alexa. Thank you so much.
I tried. Thank you.
So I just want to thank everybody for coming today. I hope you guys have a great weekend. It's really been a fun week putting together these virtual accepted student events. Of course, like Alexis said, we would have rather have done it in person, but we really have enjoyed and had fun with this experience this week, and we hope that you have too. If you do have any other questions, you can always reach out to us, myself or any of the admission counselors. And then, of course, thank you to Becky, Bella, Alexa, and Brendan for their experience sharing and all that stuff that they have given us today, and those takeaways. I really appreciate it. But that being said, I'll hang on for a few more minutes if anybody has any like quick questions that they want to ask. But other than that, have a great weekend, and thank you all.